Greeting endgame fans. The position on the board at the start of this video comes from a game between Gustavo Leon Cazares and Akshaya Kalaiyalahan. It was played in the second round of the 2020 British Universities Team Chess Championship in a match between Cambridge and Oxford. And this pairing was crucial to the final standings in the tournament. Oxford emerged victorious, winning all of their matches, while Cambridge finished as the runners-up. Well, let's introduce the players in this university challenge. Playing white is Gustavo Leon Cazares, who's studying for a PhD in chemical engineering at Cambridge. And playing black is Akshaya Kalaiyalahan, a fresher reading law at Oxford. Akshaya is a FIDE master and twice British women's champion. So let's consider the position with black to move. It's bishop against three connected passed pawns, all on the second rank, and one of them is a rook's pawn. The white bishop is guarding one of the three queening squares, but the white king is currently offside. So your starter for 10 is this question: what should the result of the game be with correct play from both sides? If you'd like to have a go at thinking about this problem, pause the video here. Okay, well, welcome back if you had a go at analysing this ending for yourself. Now, because this is a hard thing to do over the board, I'd like to recommend the book by Averbach and Chekova. It's called Comprehensive Chess Endings, Bishop Endings and Knight Endings. And in it, Averbach gives his analysis of bishop versus three or more pawns. And it really is the best work of its kind. Averbach carried out his analysis in the 1950s and early 1960s, and it really has stood the test of time, and it will help you enormously if you study the content prior to facing an ending like this one in one of your own games. So let's see how the game continued from this position. So Akshaya pushed the h-pawn. She played h5. Now it's worth noting at the outset that black can't improve by playing king e5 with the idea of shoulder barging the white king, because after king c3, king e4, well, white would have the resource bishop d3 check, winning the pawn on h7. So that's why black pushes this h-pawn. Okay, well, the white king is offside, so he needs to do something about that. King c4 was played. And now king e5, attempting to be obstructive, making it a little bit harder for white's king to come over to the king's side. White played king d3, and black continued the theme of being obstructive by playing the move king f4. So let's consider this position. Now, in the analysis that Averbach published in his bishop ending book, he concluded that in order to draw endings of this type, it's imperative for white to be able to position the king in front of the advancing pawns. And as we'll discover, a key square in this ending is going to be the square g1. And the question is whether white will be able to control this square with his king or not. So here, Cazares played the move bishop g2. Now let's think about why this move was played. Presumably white didn't like the position that arises after king e2, king g3. And you'll see that it's very, very difficult for white's king to get to the g1 square from this position. But it turns out that he can still hold the game. And it's worth demonstrating how white is able to do this. So white plays the waiting move king e1. And that also opens up the diagonal, the f1, a6 diagonal for the bishop. Black carries on pushing the h-pawn. And bishop c4 hits the f-pawn, which advances as well, f5. White attacks it with bishop e6. And black defends the pawn with g6. Well, white really must try and get in front of the pawns now, so king f1 is played, h3, and white now succeeds in his aim of getting the king in front of the pawns with the move king g1. Now what we're going to do is we'll end up from here with a very important position. Black's pawns will surround the black king on g3. They will be on f3, g4 and h3. And white's king will stand opposing them on this square g1. So for example, we can reach this position from here by a sequence of moves such as f4, bishop f7 attacking the pawn, g5, white's bishop drops back to d5, f3 happens, white plays a waiting move, bishop c6, and here we are. After g4, we've got this setup that I described a moment ago. Now, this position is a draw, provided that the white bishop is on c6, b7, d5 or e4. In fact, any square that enables white with his next move to occupy the diagonal f1, h3. So in this position, in order to draw, white must play the key move bishop to d7, attacking g4. And now there are three options for black, but each of them leads to a draw. Let's consider them in turn. So if black tries to advance the f-pawn with f2 check, white must guard the queening square, king f1, and now after h2, the white bishop can drop back to the long diagonal, and it's not possible for black to make progress from here. This is a key holding position. White dominates the light squares. And if black pushes the h-pawn with h2 check, it's a similar story. White plays king h1, guarding the queening square, and after f2, white can play bishop b5, again with a blockade on the white squares that black will not be able to break. And so the only other option here is for black to try king f4. And from here, probably the easiest way to draw is to play the move king h2. And if black responds with f2, threatening to queen, the white bishop takes care of it with bishop b5. And after king f3, the bishop can simply drop back to f1. And again, white is able to hold the position because white has an effective blockade. So bear in mind this setup. Provided it's white's move, and he can get the bishop to the c8 h3 diagonal, it will always be a draw. So we've established then that from here king e2 would in fact have been sufficient. But one can understand also why it was that white didn't go for that and instead played bishop g2. But then again, it also demonstrates the importance of knowing the theory behind the ending, because armed with that knowledge, White might well have preferred the move King E2 here. Okay, well, let's go back to the game. After Bishop G2, Akshaya chose the move H4. Now, this is probably the most testing move in the position. But Black did have an alternative option here, and it's worth looking at, because whilst the game is a draw, it does oblige White to find a series of only moves. And the alternative was to attack the bishop with King G3, which also penetrates with the king. It's an aggressive king move, and White must meet this move with Bishop D5, attacking the F pawn. The F pawn advances. White plays King E2, and here Black can try the move King H2, seeking to control this key G1 square. And in this position, there's only one move on the board that draws the game for White. Can you see it? Well, it's the move Bishop F7. If you chose King F2, well, I'm sorry, but you lose, because that doesn't prevent G5. And now Black is looking very good indeed, because of the control of the G1 square. White won't be able to stop those pawns. So instead, White must play the move Bishop F7. And the idea that is after the attack pawn moves, White can play Bishop G6, preventing G5. And after this attack pawn moves, King F3, the game is drawn. Okay, so Akshaya didn't go for King G3. Instead, she tried H4. And as I said earlier, I think this is in fact the most testing move. The White replied King E2, and now Black played King G3, attacking the bishop. The White King defended the bishop. Notice that White is now just one move away from occupying that G1 square. But Black played H3. And it looks as if Black has managed to thwart White. The bishop is attacked, and there's also the threat of H2, taking away the G1 square from White's king. Now, if you read Averbach's book and Bishop Endings, then you will know, though, that these endings often contain hidden resources, particularly when one of the passed pawns is a rook's pawn, when you're dealing with corner positions. Now, in the game, Cazares chose the very natural move, Bishop D5. He moved his bishop from a square on which it was being attacked to one in which it attacks an enemy pawn. I mean, what can be wrong with that? But unfortunately, it is a losing move. And it loses because it doesn't deal with the threat of H2. And of course, that is exactly what Black played here. Now H2 denies White the drawing setup with King G1. And of course, White can't take on F7. That's an illusory threat, because Black would then queen the H pawn. And from here, Akshaya won most impressively. The game continued Bishop C6, and she pushed F5. White is just a spectator. He can only make waiting moves. Bishop D5 was chosen. F4. Bishop dropped back to H1. G5 happened. as I said, I mean, white is completely passive and can only wait. King e1 was played. The g pawn advanced further, g4, king e2, f3 check, king e3, and black must give way here, but it doesn't matter. She still has everything under control. King h4 happened, king f2, because black can now play king h3 and give the move to white. So in fact it's white who has to give way. White king dropped back to f1. King g3 happened. And now white played king e1. Now white's only hope is that black messes up the position and allows a white squared blockade. So here, for example, f2 check would be a mistake, because after king f1 the blockade is established. But of course Akshaya knows this perfectly well, and she played instead king f4, a strong move. King f2 happened. Black checked with g3, and white played king f1. Now here black must again avoid the move f2, and in fact after bishop g2 rather, king e3, bishop h1, we reach a position that's in fact given in Averbach's book Bishop Endings. And Averbach points out that with this pawn formation, f2, g3, h2, it's a win if the position is moved along a file. So for example, if the pawns were on e2, f3, g2, with white having a dark squared bishop. But with the formation f2, g3, h2, it's a corner position, and there's no ith file. We stop with the h file, and so black's king lacks a ninth or ith file along which to penetrate, and so this position would be dead draw. But returning, Akshaya avoided f2, and instead she played the winning move king e3. And the game finished, bishop g2, white has nothing better, f takes g2 check, king takes g2, and now there's a very nice finish. Black promotes to a queen, white must take the queen, and the last move of the game was king f3. And Cazares resigned this position. Black has the opposition after king g1, g2, king h2, king f2. The g-pawn will queen. So let's scroll back to this critical position where white played the move bishop d5, which, as we've shown, is a losing move. But in fact, white could have saved himself here, and he missed the stalemate resource, king g1, moving the king to this critical square. Very, very nice, because if h takes g, if pawn takes bishop, it's stalemate. So what this means is that white now can rely on the draw with the pawn structure that we know leads to a drawn game. So the finish might have been f5, bishop d5, g5, bishop c6, g4, bishop b7, say, f4, bishop c6, f3. And we reached the same position as before. And we established here that the move bishop d7 draws. Okay, well, Akshaya Kalaiyalahan is a student of Grandmaster Boris Avrook, and he must have been very pleased by her play in this ending. Well, thank you for watching the video. I hope that you've learned how to defend the position of bishop versus 3 connected pass pawns, where one of the pawns is a rook's pawn.